By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to build a professional small business website. In fact, here's the site we're going to create. It looks polished, works great on desktop and mobile devices, and includes everything most small businesses need: a professional homepage, a services section, an About Us page, and a contact form. As we build this site, I'll walk you through everything you need to do, from choosing a website builder and registering a domain name to designing your pages, publishing your site, and getting found on Google. Along the way, I'll also point out some common mistakes to avoid. Okay, let's get going. The first thing we need is a website builder. There are lots of website building tools to choose from. Popular options include Shopify, WordPress, Wix, and Squarespace. We've tested all these extensively, and they all have specific merits. For example, Shopify is great for e-commerce, and WordPress is excellent for content marketing. But for creating a small business website, I'm going to use Squarespace. And there are 3 key reasons for this. First, it's one of the easiest website builders to use. If you're new to website building, you're not going to struggle with Squarespace. You can get a simple site off the ground with it in about an hour. Second, it comes with everything most small businesses need: hosting, templates, SEO tools, contact forms, and blogging features. It lets you focus on building your website instead of stitching lots of different services together. Third, it's affordable. And because it lets you build and maintain your site yourself, you avoid expensive developer fees too. Before we start working in Squarespace though, let's quickly map out what we're going to build. For this tutorial, I'm going to create a simple website for a small service-based business. In this case, a dog grooming business. It's going to have 4 key pages. First, a homepage that explains clearly what the business does and encourages visitors to take action. Second, a services page that gives potential customers a more specific idea of what's on offer. Third, an About Us page that builds trust and makes the business feel credible. And finally, a contact page so visitors can get in touch easily. Right, with that plan in place, let's start a Squarespace trial and pick a template. As with most website builders, Squarespace lets you build your website using a free trial. I've put a link to this in the video description. When you start your trial, Squarespace gives you 2 ways to build your site. The first option is to use its AI site builder. You answer a few questions about what you want to do, and Squarespace creates a draft version of your site based on these answers. The other way to create your site is to pick a Squarespace template and customize it yourself. That's what I'm going to do in this tutorial. To be honest, it's quite easy to overthink the template selection process. If you want to save yourself some time, just start with the Almar template. This gives you everything a small business typically needs: a strong homepage, service pages, a contact form, and clear calls to action. I'm going to use this template for the rest of this tutorial. If you'd like to follow along, just click the Almar template link that I've put in the video description. Okay, so once you've picked your template, you'll find yourself inside the Squarespace editor. Let's take a look at how this works. On the left-hand side of the Squarespace interface, you'll find the main controls for your site, including your pages, marketing tools, analytics, and other key settings. In the main preview area on the right, you can click into different parts of your site and edit them directly. When you want to add new content, you'll usually do this with sections and blocks. Sections are larger areas of a page, like a hero area, testimonial section, or contact section. Blocks are the individual pieces of content inside those sections, things like text, images, buttons, forms, and maps. And in the top right corner of the screen, you'll find a little paintbrush icon that lets you change your site styles, fonts, colors, buttons, and forms. Before we start editing anything though, let's get the basic structure of the website in place. That means setting up key pages. To create pages for my site, I need to go to the appropriately named Pages section. Now, when you start a new Squarespace site, you'll find that this section contains some demo pages. Some of these can be useful, but others might not be needed. For this site, I'm going to keep things simple. I want a clear navigation menu with 4 main pages: Home, Services, About, and Contact. So I'm going to rename or create pages as needed, remove any pages I don't want, and make sure the main navigation reflects the structure I've planned earlier. I'm also going to remove the login option at the top of the screen, as this isn't really something that I need right now. Clicking the Edit button, followed by Edit Site Header, lets me do that. With the site structure in place, it's time to add my content. One of the first things to do is to add a logo. To do this, I simply go into the site header settings and upload my logo file. Then I'm going to edit the home page. Now this has one very important job: to explain what your business does quickly and clearly. So the first thing I'm going to update is the main headline at the top of the page. A common mistake here is to use something vague like "Welcome to our website" or "Quality service you can trust." These phrases don't really tell visitors anything useful. Instead, your headline should make it immediately obvious what you offer and who it's for. So for this dog grooming website, I'm going to use "Professional Dog Grooming in Greenwich Village." That's clear, specific, and it also includes the sort of phrase a local customer might search for on Google. Underneath that, I'm going to add a short description of my services. I'm going to make sure it contains a couple of key words that people might use when searching for them too. Finally, I'm going to replace the template image with a high-quality photo that fits the business. Hovering over the image and clicking Edit Section and then Background lets me do this easily. So now, within a few minutes, I've turned the top of the page into something much more useful. It tells people what the business does and where it operates, and contains an appropriate image too. But to be honest, it doesn't quite look the part just yet. So I'm going to adjust the layout a bit. I'll walk you through that in just a moment, but first, I'd just like to say that if you're enjoying this content, it'd be great if you could give this video a thumbs up. Okay, back to my layout. One of the things I'd like to do is add a Contact Us button. I can add elements like this in Squarespace by editing my page and clicking the Add Block option. Then it's a case of simply moving it to where I want it to appear. If I like, I can add more images or copy to the page by using the Add Section option. And I can change the footer so that it contains my business address, social media icons, and some links to key pages. At this point, the site is starting to look nice, but the design still feels a bit too corporate for a dog grooming business. So I'm going to adjust the site styles, the fonts, colors, and buttons to make everything feel warmer, friendlier, and more in keeping with the brand. This is where site styling comes in. To change the typefaces and colors of my Squarespace site, I need to click the paintbrush icon at the top right corner of the site. This gives me access to controls for changing how fonts look, what color palettes are used, and the appearance of my buttons and forms. I can use these to tweak the typography and color scheme for my site. When I'm happy with all this, I can go ahead and add text and images to the rest of my site pages. And once I've done that, it's time to turn my attention to how people can get in touch with me. This means making sure my contact form is set up correctly. When you're creating your navigation in Squarespace, you get the option to add contact pages. These come with a form that you can edit to suit your needs. It's important to ensure that I get a notification every time somebody completes this form. So I'm going to check the correct email address for my business is entered into the email notification settings. If I like, I can also send the data to a spreadsheet on Google Drive, pass it to another tool using Zapier, or add it to a MailChimp mailing list. With my pages, styling, and contact forms sorted, my site is nearly ready to go live. But there are a few additional Squarespace features I need to think about using before publishing it. A very important one is its SEO tools. Clicking the cog icon beside my site pages brings up controls for editing page URLs, titles, and meta descriptions. I need to ensure these are all optimized for search engines correctly, or I'll really struggle to get traffic to my new site. There are quite a few other things you can do to improve your search rankings. If you'd like to learn about these, do watch our Squarespace SEO guide, which I've linked to in the video description. Another thing worth looking at is Squarespace's email marketing features. These let you send emails to people who complete forms on your site or automated messages to people who take certain actions on it. Squarespace's scheduling features are potentially very useful to service businesses. These let users see your availability and give site visitors the option to book time with you. If you're selling products, Squarespace gives you e-commerce tools that let you do this easily. And finally, you might want to add a blog. If you blog regularly about topics related to your business, you can attract relevant visitors to it. Doing this also lets Google know that you're an authority in your field and can result in higher search rankings. At this point, I'm pretty much ready to publish. But before that, one last check. I need to ensure that my site looks good on mobile devices. This is easy to do. I just click the little mobile icon on any page I'm editing to get a preview of how it will appear on a smartphone. If there's anything I need to change, I can use the controls provided. Okay, now it's time to publish my site. Before I can put my site live, I'll need to upgrade from a trial to a paid plan. I'll also need a domain name for it, something that's short and memorable and contains my business name. One way to register a domain name is simply to get one from Squarespace. When you subscribe to an annual paid plan, you're offered a free domain name for 1 year. You can also register one through the Squarespace dashboard. You just go to Settings, Domains, and Email to do that. Alternatively, it's possible to connect a domain bought from a third party to a Squarespace site. Again, you'll find this in the Domains and Email section of the Squarespace dashboard. After that, publishing is straightforward. I go to the site availability settings, change the site from private to public, and save my changes. At this point, my Squarespace site will go live on the domain name I registered. One thing to note here, depending on the domain registrar involved, it can take a few hours for Squarespace to connect to the domain. Once I'm confident that the domain name has been connected okay, it's time to do a couple of final checks. I'll open my site in a private browser window, test the navigation, check for any typos, and use the contact form. I'll also look at the site on a phone to make sure it looks okay on mobile devices. If everything works as expected, my site is ready to share with customers. And that's it. I've built a small business website. Before you go, don't forget that you'll find links to all the latest Squarespace trials and offers in the video description, along with the SEO resource I mentioned earlier in this video. If you found this video helpful, I'd love you to give it a thumbs up and subscribe or follow wherever you're watching it. And finally, if you have any questions about building a small business website, do leave them in the comments. I read them all and will do my best to help.